Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 71 of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. If you are new here, welcome. It's so great to have you. And if you are a regular, thank you once again for tuning in. It's always great to have our regulars on. If you're new, remember you can like and subscribe on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on. Let's get into today's episode. So for the past 3 years, I've been a teaching assistant for the University of KwaZulu-Natal. In the process, I've had the pleasure of teaching some really amazing students, and I thought it's only fitting that for this month's You Are Scientist, I talk to a few of them. So today you get to hear some conversations with Thembi, Thabile, and Ntokozo. My first guest is Thabile Nxumalo, a South African. She's a fourth-year plant pathology student. In this episode, we learned that in high school, she had no idea what science meant. She was simply encouraged by her teachers to pursue it because she had good grades. It wasn't until her second year in university that she realized what she was doing. She explains the field of plant pathology to us and also discusses her current honors project and her future aspirations. Let's take a listen. Hi, Thabile. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne.
How are you? I'm really excited to have you on today.
I'm very much okay, thank you. And how are you?
Perfect. I'm perfect. Okay, so Thabile, to kick things off, please introduce us. So who is Thabile? What is she currently doing? And where are you currently based?
Okay, Thabile is just a young girl from South Africa, and I'm originally from South Africa. I'm 23 in age, and I'm doing plant pathology.
Before we get into what you do in terms of plant pathology, I want us to go to the beginning. So when you think of young Thabile back in the day, how did she end up in science? Is this something that you've always aspired to do? Were there people who you looked up to, or did it something sort of just kind of happen? What is your story?
Okay, honestly speaking, being in science, first, I didn't know what does it mean to be in science. It was just a thing that back in high school, when the teachers saw potential in you, they'll be like, okay, your grades are good, then you can do great. And that went on for like almost my whole high school life until my second year at university. That is when I realized that being in science, it's more than just cool. It's actually interesting. It's fun. You get to explore a lot of things, learn a lot. And that actually inspired me to be in science. Because at some point, like at my first year, when I applied for plant pathology, like I totally had no clue what it was all about. I knew actually that it was about agriculture. I would study plants, but I didn't know much about it until second year, where I did plant path 2 and 4. There was more like an introductory module. It introduced me to what exactly plant pathology is. It's when now I realized that it's actually cool and like it's amazing. So basically, yeah. That's how I end up in science.
I love your honesty, Thabile, because I think many of us just come into science. Like you said, you're smart. So you're like, okay, go do science. And then also in undergrad, you just do all the basic things and you take a degree. You don't really know what that degree is, but because you are smart and it's science, you're like, let me get in. So, when you said that you realized like it's actually interesting, was it because of how it was being taught to you? Was it a particular lecturer? Like, what was that moment where you were like, okay, this is something that I want to do? Like where that light bulb rang? Because I think there's always that thing where you eventually like, oh, okay, this is what I'm doing. So was there a specific moment or an instance or an example for you where that light bulb finally came on?
Well, I would say it's most of the modules I was doing second year. They sort of put the meaning on plants, on what actually plants are, how they operate, which is more like they're like human beings. And that are the most interesting parts, because basically plant birth is about the science behind plants, not just plants being plants as we see them, like the colors showed by different plants. So I would say it's AGPS 200 and Plant 2 actually showed me how my degree, it actually showed me how interesting my degree was, because they put a lot of meanings in so many plants that were around me that time. And
Oh, okay, that's great. I'm going to take that win because AGPS 200 is one of the modules that I was tutoring you for, or demonstrating you for. So I'm glad that me and Professor Dindo helped you put in that understanding. So for the people who don't know, AGPS 200 is an introduction to agricultural production module, and I think plant pathology. It's also an introduction to plant pathology module in second year, where all of those concepts come in. And I'm sure it's also because in undergrad in first year you just do very basic science modules, and then only in second year you start applying that agriculture. And I'm glad that the light switched on for you and it finally made sense. Okay, so now you're in your fourth year. You are majoring in plant pathology. For somebody who has no idea what that even means, who's never heard of this degree, in your understanding, how would you explain what you're majoring? What is plant pathology?
Well, in my case, yes, I'm an undergrad because I haven't graduated, but lucky enough, when you graduate, it's fourth year level, you come up with an honors. So this year I'm doing my fourth year, and which is basically honors, and I'm particularly focusing on plant virology because there are quite a lot of section under plant pathology. There's bacteriology section, and there's plant virology. So which is basically dealing with viruses that infect different plants. So since I'm more focusing on plant viruses, I find it quite a lot interesting because viruses are viruses. It's the end, whether in animal infecting, plant infecting, or human infecting viruses. So this year I'm just doing my honors project and I'm focusing on viruses, which is quite a lot interesting because I can somehow link them to the current study, which was of COVID-19. Since I'm studying viruses, I'm also taking some information on how these viruses emerged.
No, I understand. So you're kind of applying, even though you're working on plants and not humans, the application and the understanding is similar. And you can now understand, because this pandemic is new to everybody. So you kind of have that edge than most of us in terms of understanding the science behind the viruses. So you said for your fourth year, you're working on a fourth year project for your honors year. Would you mind, I know it might not be 100% finalized because it's still the beginning of the year, but do you have an idea on what viruses you're going to be looking at, or what plants, or the basic gist of what potentially your project is going to be about?
Well, currently we've started transplanting the tobacco plants, but even though my virus, like the viruses that I'll be using, because it won't be a virus infecting one plant. It'll be actually a virus infecting hydrangea and cleaver plants. But I'm using tobacco plant because tobacco, like our Prof. Kuba would say, it's TMV, which is tobacco mosaic virus. It's the mother of plant virology. Like most plant viruses can infect tobacco. So also in my project, I would use tobacco as a host plant to see if I can propagate my virus, the virus that infects hydrangea and cleaver, on the very same tobacco. So I'll be doing that. And then I'll examine if I can find it, like do some lab work to see how did it go.
Oh, fantastic. Sounds really exciting. It's quite interesting. I just learned something new, that, tobacco is the mother or viruses. So thank you for teaching me, and I'm sure everybody else who's listening, this new piece of information.
Yeah, but not basically tobacco. I'll say TMV, tobacco mosaic virus, which is actually a virus that infects tobacco.
Oh, okay. Oh, you said the virus itself, not the tobacco plant.
Yes.
The virus itself.
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I understand. I got a little bit confused there. All right. No, all the best with this project. I know it's tricky now because you guys have progressed from in-person learning to online learning. And I think it must be Rather, let me ask, for you, in your final year, how has that transition been for you, going from in-person lectures to, these online lectures and whatnot? Has that affected the way you work, or has this been a positive experience for you?
Well, it has been really hard, considering the fact that actually this online learning started last year. And then it's even worse this year because there are modules which are like field work, where we have to go to farms, different farms, learn some lot of things. And then now we can't do that because they can't allow us to come in. So yeah, it's kind of hard, I would say, because we'll graduate next year without doing some of the stuff, because we can do them online, but it's not the same with in content. So yeah, definitely. It's kind of affected us in a very negative way. Yeah, so yeah, it is what it is. What can you say? But yeah, we are adjusting.
No, I'm sure it's been difficult. I honestly, personally cannot imagine going through undergraduate level online. Like, So my heart really goes out to all of you guys. And when you guys graduate, because you will, you must be very proud of yourself that you managed to come through in a pandemic. And I think that's important, that you are doing all of this work and you are thriving, no matter how hard it is. I mean, nobody said it's going to be easy, but you are thriving. And I'm sure even with the speed bumps, it will end in congratulations.
Thank you.
End in congratulations. Okay, Thabile, as we're talking about how you're going to finish the end of this year and graduate next year, what are some of your future aspirations when you think about the future? Where do you see yourself? Can you explain to me sort of the ideal goal for you?
Well, at the beginning of the year, I was like, I want to do my honors, graduate, and then go look for a job. But now that has changed a bit. I now want to go for masters. I want to do masters in plant virology. Like, I want to know more about viruses. Yeah, I'm so now interested in, I want to know quite a lot about them. So yeah, I want to do my master's next year.
Oh, that's great. You are welcome to the postgraduate squad.
Thank you.
I love how you doing this type of research has opened your mind to want to know more. And I think that's the beauty of science. It's always the curiosity, the questions, and wanting to find answers for the next thing. So this is obviously only just the beginning in your honors, and who knows what will come when you pursue your masters. So all the best. And Thabile, as we come to the end of this interview, the whole reason why I had you on the show is because I want to amplify the voices of young upcoming scientists in these different fields. And I hope you realize that for you are an inspiration, not only to younger people, and I'm sure even just your peers. So I hope you remember that and you don't forget it, and you keep on aspiring to all of your many, many goals. And for somebody who's like, wow, Thabile, I want to be just like you. What would you say to them? Or even to when you reflect back about younger Thabile from, like, let's say 4 years ago or later, what sort of piece of advice would you give her?
I would say people shouldn't be scared of science. Like in high schools or back in the days, people would say science is hard. You're smart if you're doing science. Science is nice. Science is interesting. It's get to put a lot of meaning in so much different things. So I would say if you feel like you can do science, just go for it. It's actually nice. It's amazing. You'll love it, definitely. So yeah, people shouldn't be scared of science. Science is so much interesting.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me. I really, really enjoyed our chat.
Thank you. Likewise.
Next up is Sithembisiwe Dube, also known as Thembi, who is originally from Zimbabwe but currently resides and studies in South Africa. She's pursuing a bachelor's degree in animal science. We learned that she was inspired by her father's passion for livestock care. This piqued her interest in studying animals in order to assist him. She discovered that animal science was a degree she needed to pursue after conducting a quick Google search. She explains to us what animal science is all about and also talks to us about her future plans and aspirations. Let's take a listen. Hi, Thembi. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. How are you doing?
I'm so great. Thank you for coming on today and for sharing your story. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So now, before we get into anything, Thembi, please just introduce yourself. So who is Thembi? What are you currently doing? Where are you based? Where are you originally from? Just something short and sweet for everybody to get to know you.
Okay. My name is Sithembisiwe Dube. I come from Zimbabwe, and right now I'm at the University of KwaZulu-Natal doing my bachelor science degree in agriculture, which I'm majoring in animal and poultry science. I stay in Pietermaritzburg. That's where the campus is. And briefly, that's all about myself. And besides my studies, I also like cooking, watching TV series and documentaries.
Oh, awesome. I love to cook. We should share some recipes. All right. Thembi, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. It's really good to know that away from the science as well, you also have a life. But just coming back to the sciences, I think it's pretty interesting for us to find out what your story is. What is the root of the science? Is it something that you always wanted to do? Or was it something that kind of just happened and then you're like, I'm here, let me just continue. So what's your story?
It was kind of like something that I really wanted to do. So firstly, it was how my dad was so passionate about taking care of his livestock. And so I grew up seeing him treating his animals, feeding them, taking care of them, maybe moving them to maybe a greener pastures, maybe if there's less feed and stuff like that. So I got interested, and I thought it would be interesting for me to like study animals so that maybe one day I can help him out, because although he's doing it at a subsistence farming level, but I wish I can help him. So that really motivated me. Like it was something that he was passionate about that ended up being my passion.
Wow, that's so beautiful. So it was the influences of being at home and your dad owning this livestock, and then you're like, okay, this is something that you want to do. So you said you're originally from Zim, right?
Yes.
Zimbabwe. How do you end up in South Africa studying a Bachelor of Animal Science?
Okay, I was fascinated about like really pursuing this anything to do with animals. So I just went to the internet, started looking for animal degrees, and I came across animal science. And thereafter, I then started like looking for universities to go to. So I just thought of, okay, let me try something new. Let me go out of my comfort zone and apply in South Africa. So I applied in Northwest, in KZN, like University of KwaZulu-Natal, and I can't remember the third one, but I got places in all, but I just had to select UKZN.
Oh, okay, cool. That's a brilliant story. Thank you for that. I love how you said you just were like, okay, I want to do an animal science degree. Let me just type on Google. So thank God for Google. So it was, you didn't know that this degree actually existed, hey? Because I have never met a lot of people who study animal science.
I just Googled it, as I said. So I also didn't know like which path exactly to take. So that's why I had to like just say animal degrees. So there was animal science, there's also veterinary science, but for some reason I just chose animal science.
I like that. You took the path less traveled, because I think most people always assume if you want to do something animal related, veterinary science is the way to go. But you've just shone a light on a discipline of science that not many people know that it's something that you do. So just quickly run us through what are some things that you study? If somebody is interested in this degree, what are some things that you learn and so far in your journey that you've learned, or in summary, that makes up animal science?
Okay, so animal science really looks at the science and business of producing livestock animals. So like your cattle, sheep, goats, swine, and poultry, and how to solve problems associated with the livestock production and management. So it also looks at companion animals, like their nutrition, their welfare, and their care. So really, like animal science, like comprised of like 4 divisions. Like we are doing our animal health, our animal nutrition, animal genetics, and animal physiology and production. So all our bases of science, our biochemistry, maths, physics, and stuff, they're all like our fundamentals on those topics.
Wow, that's so interesting. I'm learning something. I'm learning something as well. So it encompasses many disciplines of science into one. And it's quite fascinating, because I used to have friends in undergrad who used to do animal science, but I never really understood what they did. I just thought, they just to raise cattle or something.
So it's really like raising cattle or livestock for like production.
Oh, okay, great. And also you mentioned that there's also the management aspect of it as well. So that's also really good in terms of farm management. No, thank you so much for that that little description for us and just teaching us something new. So Thembi, where do you currently see yourself? You are now at 4th year, which is your honors level, right? What are some of your aspirations after this? Because after this you graduate. So do you want to continue further studying, or do you have some other ideas of where you kind of want to go with your life?
Okay, currently I want to continue with my studying. I want to do my master's, but maybe at the same time I would want to look for a job, because I feel like I want to experience how it is like working, like applying my knowledge on the job and getting information about how things are run and the latest technologies that are used in animal science and stuff like that. So I feel like I want to do my master's. At the same time, I really want to get a job so that I become well-versed with really what I'm doing.
No, I completely understand. And I hope when this chapter is over and you continue your next chapter, you get into something that is that you enjoy. And also I love the fact that you want to pursue your studies further. We need more people doing that. So Thembi, the whole basis of this talk this month is that we want to amplify the voices of young people in these different STEM disciplines, but also just to remind you guys that you are an inspiration to so many people, because I'm sure there are many people who are like, wow, Thembi is really amazing. I hope you know that there are people who look up to you. And so I just wanted to ask you, with everything that you've learned managed so far, even though it might not seem like it's a lot, but to somebody else it's a lot. What advice would you give to somebody who is motivated by your story or aspires to do something similar?
Okay, first and foremost, you have to go for your dream. Do what you want, do what you love, because whenever you meet like obstacles, whether it's hard or not, you will still go through anything because that's what you love, that's what you like. So you will conquer everything. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Oh, fantastic. Short and sweet, straight to the point. Thembi, it's been such a pleasure having you on. I wish you all of the best and in everything that you do from now and in the future, and just keep on working hard and, killing it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Lastly, we have Ntokozo from South Africa. She's currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in agricultural plant science with a major in crop science. In this episode, she admits that when she was younger, she was unsure about her future career. When she was 16, she started growing a vegetable garden, which sparked her interest in pursuing a degree in agriculture. She tells us more what agriculture science is all about and also her research projects. Finally, we talked about her future goals and also how she's been enjoying this online learning. Let's take a listen. Hi, Ntokozo. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Thank you so much for having me.
It is a great pleasure. I am so excited to have you on and for us to get to know more about you. So first things first, please give us a brief introduction. Who is Ntokozo? Where are you currently based and what are you currently doing? Just in brief.
Okay, well, my name is Ntokozo and I am a 22-year-old who is currently based in Pietermaritzburg in Durban, South Africa. I'm actually originally from Johannesburg and I've lived there for like 16 years. And then we relocated here to PNB, which is where I reside right now. I am currently studying at UKZN in Pietermaritzburg, and I am pursuing a degree in agricultural plant science, and I am majoring in crop science.
Oh, perfect. I love that. We're going to get into more of that a little bit later. So, Ntokozo, you gave us a brief introduction that you're originally from Johannesburg, South Africa, and then you moved here. So just riding on that wave, let's take the steps all the way back. So how does young Ntokozo get into science? Is this something that you've always wanted to do? Or were there some people who you looked up to? Or is it something that you're kind of like, oh, I'm just here, I'm rolling with it. So what is your story?
Yeah, so actually young Ntokozo was very confused. She didn't really know what she wanted to do. I'm someone who's very easily impressed. So if I see something that I just like, I want to do it. So, when I was younger, I wanted to be things like a flight attendant or a doctor or a vet or anything. Yeah, I was very indecisive. And I mean, that's the Libra in me. Libras are known to be very indecisive. So yeah, that was me when I was younger. But it was more like when I turned about 16, while I was still living in Joburg, that my interest in actually wanting to do agricultural science actually started. And basically, my nature is someone who likes to DIY, who likes to do things herself. And a lot of the times when I see something and I see something that I could potentially start for myself or create myself or make myself, I instead of buying that thing, I'm just like, okay, let me just go back home, research on how I can make this thing and actually try and make it. So for me, food was one of that, and specifically produce. So stuff like, things that you see on shops, in shops, the vegetables and stuff like that. And I had this fantasy of having my own garden and, when it's like supper time, before supper time, I go outside and like pick all the produce that I need to get. Like for me, I wanted to go away from grocery shops and just to have my own garden and just go and harvest there and then come and cook it in. I don't know why. It's just who I am. I love. And then, so I started a little bit when I was 16. I would actually collect a lot of fruit. I mean, a lot of seeds. And yeah, for me, eating a fruit was less about the fruit and more about the seed. So I'd literally collect the seed, and I knew the basics, which was the seed must go in the soil. That's literally all I knew. And obviously, that was very unsuccessful. I literally had a 100% unsuccessful rate at germinating. And yeah, I think that's where it all started. Like, I was so curious. Instead of being like discouraged by the fact that I'm not producing anything, I would be curious and be like, why isn't it growing, and stuff like that. And then when I started being in matric, I sort of was able to actually start germinating things, but then I started having issues of pests, and oh my gosh, they were a nightmare, especially aphids. I hated aphids. Oh my goodness. They would literally come and destroy my whole little garden that I had. It was so frustrating. And I think that's when my whole curiosity in agriculture actually started. And that's how I made the decision to actually do agricultural plant science.
Wow, that's so interesting that this is something that you were doing even at such a young age. And especially with being in Johannesburg, in the city, the fact that you're so ingenuitive and you were like, I'm going to grow my own food is actually pretty brilliant. And, that kind of, that bug grew. I say bug, like, ironically, that you had a pest problem. But I love that story. That's quite interesting that, you actually went for your dream. I know that most young people, when you think of agricultural science, they're like, oh my gosh, are you going to be a farmer? Do you get that a lot?
I do. And I sort of hate it sometimes when people think that, because I'm like, agricultural plant science is so much more to it than just being a farmer. Yeah. Agricultural plant science, it is so much, it's so difficult. It's not as simple as just planting things around. Like, that's, I usually get that question a lot, and I'm just like, no, not that simple.
I used to get, so you just play with mud. And I'm like, no, it's not like that. It's not like that. Okay, so Ntokozo, you said that agricultural science is way more than that. So in your understanding, for somebody who doesn't know, how would you explain what you do in being it more than just playing with mud?
Yeah, so agricultural plant science in general, I see it as being a doctor for plants. I see it as being sort of like a plant whisperer. You need to be able to go to the field and you see an issue, and you need to be able to identify what that issue is. So the degree agricultural plant science actually prepares you for that. It teaches you so much on, factors that affect the optimum growth of certain crops. Yeah, it just teaches you about the environment of crops and what crops need to thrive, and the important things that a crop or a plant needs in order to produce certain things and improve the quality of that produce as well. So it's very, very, very science-based, because for example, with soil science, because that's one module that you do as well. It's like, that's one complicated module, because you need to learn, there's so much physics involved with that. There's so much chemistry involved with that. There's so much biology involved with that. So it's very complex. And that's what agricultural plant science. With the major crop science, for me, it's more like studying industrial crops. It's less about the cash crops, sort of like horticultural crops, but more on the cash crops. So an example of a cash crop would be like wheat, sugar, the sugar crop, cotton, anything that you're able to can be used for other products, to like a value-adding product, and can be exported. So that's what crop science is.
Yeah, no, that's a great explanation. And you mentioned that you are, I didn't say it earlier, but you are in your fourth year now, which is honors level. just before you graduate. It's almost there. Oh my God.
Oh my
God. It's almost there. And you are majoring in crop science.
Yes.
So I don't know if this is a bit too early to ask, but what crop are you working on for your honors project? Because in honors level, you have to work on a big project in order for you to pass.
Yeah.
I know it might be a bit too early for you to explain the details, but what crop are you working on?
Okay, so the crop I'm working on is eucalyptus, and eucalyptus is basically a huge tree or important tree, industrial tree, in the forestry industry, because it deals with making paper mostly, and furniture, and apparently even some pharmaceutical products, which I don't really know as of yet more about that, but yeah, apparently that's what's being done. So that's the crop I'm doing. That's the crop.
That's really, really great. And I wish you all of the best with your fourth year project. It sounds like it's going to be quite a show. So just in terms of us still talking about school, I know that now everything has moved online. So how are you handling the online transition from, at least you lived the going to classes and whatnot. So for you, how has this transition been, especially?
I was actually telling my brother today, and I was just saying that I actually miss going to live lectures. And this is actually the first time I'm actually feeling this way throughout the whole lockdown. But, throughout the whole sort of lockdown regulation situation, I actually enjoyed it. I think it's because I'm an introvert, and we like to be at home. So yeah, I actually enjoyed it a lot. And if anything, I think it helped me a lot with my studies, because I sort of got comfortable with asking questions. I don't know why, but if I was confused in certain situations or with certain concepts, I'm not afraid to ask a question in class right now. I think it's because we don't see each other, so it's all right with that. And also, I also am able to ask a lot of questions with the lecturers as well. And also, I really like the fact that it's do things at your own time. So I love the fact that I was able to have more control of my time in a way, because there are some lectures which were pre-recorded and then posted on Moodle. Sorry, I'm not sure if I'm able to say that. But yeah, they were posted on an online platform. And some of them, obviously, I'd have to be live at that lecture. Well, it's a live lecture, as in it's a Zoom meeting lecture. So yeah, I've loved it. I really have. I just love being in control of my own time, doing things at my own time. And yeah, I haven't struggled at all.
That's so interesting. I like that for you it has worked, because I've spoken to other students and they're like, oh my God, Anne, I hate it. I hate the fact that I can't ask the lecturer questions, and, or I hate the fact that I can't talk with other people. So I think, like you said, that it's very important, depending on the type of person that you are. Some people thrive in different situations. So it's quite interesting for me to get your take. And when you put it like that, it makes a lot of sense. And I hope a lot of people who had that, who are a bit shy, kind of were able to open up and were able to gain from this. So, in every situation, it's a blessing to others and it's not to other people. So I'm glad for you it's been a positive experience, although now you're like, okay, I'm ready to go back. I'm ready to go back. No, I completely understand. Okay, as we are coming to the end of this interview, I wanted to ask you, so what are some of your future aspirations? You are now doing fourth year, where when you finish, you graduate.
Yeah.
So what is the ideal plan? Do you aspire to continue further with your studies, or you're like, it's been great, I want to do something else? So what is your idea, and where do you see yourself in future?
So I don't really want to further it right now. I don't want to further my education right now. Instead, I would love to actually be able to go into these industrial crops and experience like the live production system that takes place there. I really want to do that, and not just in South Africa, but also in other very big producing countries as well, like China and India and all of those other places. So that's something that I really want to do. But I think the sort of job situation that I'd like to see myself in is just in a position where I'm doing a lot of consulting. So just going out there and just helping people solve their problems when it comes to agriculture. But also, I'd also like to be in like the management aspect of agriculture as well, to be able to manage these huge industrial farms as well. But I also really want to carry on with research as well. Not too much, but I do want to be a part of the research community. And I specifically want to be part of the, organic movement, the regenerative movement, the no-till. I just want to be a part of that and just increase as much information, as much knowledge and scientific findings as possible, so that we can go towards actually practicing these things at a more larger scale, because these things are important. We need to conserve and take care of our planet. So, and agriculture is known as one of the practices which are actually depleting the biodiversity in the biodiversity in plants, in organisms. So I just want to be part of that research. I think for me, the most important thing as well is that I also have my own business, my own farm, not just working for other people. And but I would like to be able to participate in the crop industry as well, and be participate in exports as well. And specifically, I would love to be a part of cotton production as well. So I'm hoping I'll be able to do that as well. But a lot of my aspirations are very, practical based. It's less scientific and more practical, but I definitely do not want to cancel out science at all. I definitely do want to be a part of that community as well. So that's my aspirations.
No, that's great. I love how you said that you want to be in the field and in the sector. And I think there's a great deal, a need rather, for more young, female, Black people, players in these type of spaces, because I know there's a huge monopoly in terms of the commercial farmers being predominantly white. So there's a need for younger people to get into farming. And I think we touched on this earlier, where when you say you're doing agricultural science, there's that notion like, it's not cool. So if you can have more people in it and who are making it really exciting and showing people that, hey, it's really cool. So I like all of the ideas, and I wish you all of the best. And I'm sure you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it well. And if the thing with research is it's always gonna be there. So when you want to come back, you can definitely come back. So just go for your dreams and and keep on inspiring people in the process, because you are. And that's why you are here, because you are an inspiration to many. I don't know if you realize it, but you are. And with that being said, I wanted to ask you then, if somebody is listening and they're like, oh my word, I want to be like you, or they aspire to, or what would you say to a younger you, 16-year-old, busy playing in the garden? What advice would you give to a person who's listening?
I think I'd say the cliche, which is, sort of don't give up on chasing your dream. Like your dream and your passion can take you so much further than where just a simple degree can take you. Like sometimes there are cases where we do certain degrees because our parents want us to do it, and they don't take us that far. But I believe that following your passion and following your dream will take you like places, like far places. So I guess I'd say don't doubt yourself, don't doubt your dreams, follow your dreams, love your dreams, and also always stay curious and don't be afraid to make mistakes and don't be afraid to be wrong, especially in science. We learn from mistakes in science. That's how we actually learn. Mistakes broaden our sort of perspective in things. We know, like with mistakes, we know, okay, this doesn't work. So what actually does work? You know, it always has that sort of like, you want to know more sort of thing. So, you know, don't be afraid of making any mistakes, and just enjoy the process of while. Always cultivate a positive mindset, and yeah, don't forget about your mental health as well, because that can affect a lot of things as well. But yeah, those are the sort of advices I have for someone younger. Yeah.
For sure. I love that, especially about your mental health. It's something that's not really spoken about in this field, and it's something that needs to be more spoken about. So I love that you brought that in the conversation. And thank you so much for your words of inspiration. I hope somebody is inspired. Oh, and also, thank you for coming on and chatting with me.
Thank you so much for having me and for giving me such an awesome opportunity. It's been fun.
It's a great pleasure. And that concludes our episode for today. I hope hearing the stories, you were inspired, you were motivated, but most importantly, you learned a thing or two. Thank you once again for tuning into another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl and with an E. Until next time, goodbye.